in the vast silence of space. Aboard the orbital station Elysium, a tense meeting was unfolding. The room was large, with smooth metallic walls that reflected the soft glow of overhead lights. At the center stood a long curved table surrounded by representatives from across the galaxy. Each species had sent its finest diplomats, their appearances as varied as the stars themselves. But today, all eyes were on Daniel Carter, the human ambassador. Daniel was a tall man with short brown hair and sharp features. He wore a simple black suit, a stark contrast to the colorful robes and intricate armor of the other delegates. His hands rested firmly on the table as he spoke, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "We have listened to your demands," he said, addressing the council. "But we cannot continue these talks if they only serve to undermine our sovereignty." Lyra Voss, one of the most respected members of the Galactic Council, sat across from him. Her skin shimmered like liquid sapphire, and her wide almond-shaped eyes never blinked. She leaned forward slightly, her expression calm, yet piercing. "Ambassador Carter," she began, her voice melodic but firm. "The Council seeks cooperation, not control. Humanity's refusal to engage will only isolate you further." Daniel shook his head. "Isolation is preferable to compromise when it comes at the cost of our freedom." He paused, letting his words sink in. Around the table, murmurs broke out. Some delegates nodded in agreement, while others exchanged worried glances. The tension in the air was palpable. The Galactic Council had been formed centuries ago to maintain peace among the many intelligent species scattered across the stars. Over time, however, some humans had grown resentful. They felt the Council treated Earth as inferior, imposing rules and restrictions without considering humanity's needs. Daniel knew this frustration better than anyone. As Earth's ambassador, he carried the weight of billions of people who looked to him for leadership. Rachel Monroe watched the scene unfold from a corner of the room. She was a journalist covering interstellar affairs, her notebook clutched tightly in her hands. Rachel had seen countless negotiations, but none quite like this. There was something different about the way Daniel spoke. His tone wasn't angry or defensive, but resolute. It was clear he had made up his mind. As Daniel finished speaking, he turned and walked toward the door. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the silent chamber. No one moved to stop him. Lyra watched him go, her face unreadable. Once the door slid shut behind him, the room erupted into chaos. Voices rose in argument, accusations flew back and forth, and tempers flared. Cale Draven, a senior advisor to the council chair, stood quietly at the edge of the commotion. He was a tall, wiry man with pale green skin and sharp, angular features. His yellow eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail. Cale didn't speak immediately. Instead, he waited, letting the anger build. When he finally stepped forward, the room fell silent. "This is unacceptable," Cale declared, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Humanity has abandoned diplomacy. If they refuse to cooperate, we must consider our options carefully." His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Rachel scribbled furiously in her notebook, capturing every moment. She knew this event would change everything for humanity, for the Council, and perhaps for the entire galaxy. As she left the chamber, her mind raced with questions. What would happen next? Would there be war? Or was there still hope for peace? For now, the future remained uncertain. But one thing was clear. Daniel Carter's decision to walk away from the peace talks would echo far beyond the walls of the Elysium. Back on Earth, the news of Daniel Carter's decision spread quickly. Within hours, every news channel, social media platform, and public forum was buzzing with reactions. Rachel Monroe sat in her small apartment, staring at the glowing screen of her computer. Her inbox was flooded with messages from colleagues, sources, and even strangers demanding answers. Some praised Daniel as a hero who stood up for humanity, while others condemned him as reckless and short-sighted. The divide was deep, and it seemed like everyone had an opinion. Rachel decided to step outside to clear her head. The streets were alive with activity, but there was an undercurrent of tension. Groups of people gathered near government buildings, holding signs and chanting slogans. On one side, protesters waved banners that read, "Stand Strong, Humanity," while on the other, crowds demanded peace and cooperation with the Galactic Council. The air was thick with emotion, anger, fear, hope, and uncertainty, all mingled together. As she walked, Rachel noticed Laura Bennett standing near the edge of the crowd. Laura was a well-known political analyst, often seen on television, offering insights into interstellar relations. Her curly red hair and sharp green eyes made her easy to spot. Rachel approached her cautiously. "Laura," she said, extending a hand, "do you have a moment?" Laura turned, recognizing Rachel immediately. "Of course," she replied, stepping away from the noise. "What do you need?" Rachel hesitated before asking, "What do you think will happen? Now, do you believe this is the end of diplomacy?" Laura sighed, rubbing her temples. "It's hard to say. Walking away from the council is risky, especially when tensions are already high. If humanity continues down this path, it could provoke retaliation from powerful factions within the council. But staying silent isn't an option either." She paused, looking directly at Rachel. "The real question is whether we can find another way forward." Later that evening, Rachel attended a press conference held by Laura. The room was packed with reporters, their cameras flashing like strobe lights. Laura stood confidently at the podium, addressing the crowd. "We must remember that isolation comes with consequences," she warned. "If we separate ourselves from the council, we risk losing access to resources, technology, and alliances that are vital to our survival. This decision affects not just our leaders but every single person on this planet." Her words struck a chord with many, including Rachel. As the conference ended, Rachel approached Laura again. "Do you think people understand what's at stake?" she asked. "I hope so," Laura replied. "But fear has a way of clouding judgment. Right now, emotions are running high, and that makes rational decisions harder to come by." That night, Rachel couldn't sleep. She replayed the events of the day in her mind, the protests, the arguments, Laura's warnings. Something felt off, like there was more to the story than anyone was willing to admit. Her instincts told her to dig deeper, to uncover the truth behind Daniel's decision to walk away. The next morning, Rachel visited a quiet cafe tucked away in a corner of the city. It was a place where intellectuals and activists often met to discuss ideas. As she sipped her coffee, she overheard snippets of conversation. One man spoke passionately about a group called the Horizon Initiative. Intrigued, Rachel leaned closer, pretending to focus on her notes. From what she gathered, this group believed humanity should sever ties with the Council entirely, arguing that dependence on alien powers weakened Earth's independence. Rachel's curiosity grew. Who were these people, and how much influence did they have over Earth's leaders? She jotted down the name and resolved to investigate further. For now, though, she knew one thing for certain. Daniel Carter's bold move had set off a chain reaction. And no one, not humans, not aliens, could predict where it would lead. As she left the cafe, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the city. Rachel felt a mix of excitement and dread. The story was far from over, and she had a feeling her role in it was only beginning. On the Council's home planet, a world of shimmering silver towers and glowing rivers, Kale Draven paced back and forth in a dimly lit chamber. The room was circular, with walls made of translucent material that shifted colors faintly, as if alive. Around him, delegates from various species sat in silence, their faces reflecting a mix of anger, fear, and confusion. The atmosphere was heavy, like a storm about to break. Kale stopped pacing and turned to face the group. His pale green skin seemed to glow faintly in the soft light, and his sharp yellow eyes scanned the room. "We cannot let this stand," he said, his voice low but firm. "Humanity has walked away from the table, and if we do nothing, it will embolden others to challenge the Council's authority." Aaron Talo, a reptilian delegate with scales that shimmered like emeralds, raised a hand to speak. Aaron was known for her calm demeanor and careful words, often acting as a voice of reason among the more aggressive members. "We must not act rashly," she said, her voice smooth and measured. "Punishing humanity could escalate tensions further. We need dialogue, not threats." Kale frowned, but nodded slightly. He respected Aaron's wisdom, even if he didn't always agree with her. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that leniency would be seen as weakness. "Dialogue is meaningless if they refuse to listen," he countered. "The Council exists to maintain order. If one species can defy us without consequence, what message does that send?" The room erupted into murmurs. Some delegates agreed with Kale, their voices rising in frustration. Others sided with Aaron, urging caution. A bulky insectoid representative clicked its mandibles loudly, drawing attention. "The humans are unpredictable," it rasped. "Their emotions drive them, not logic. Perhaps we should isolate them until they see reason." Lyra Voss, the blue-skinned diplomat who had faced Daniel Carter directly, spoke next. Her melodic voice cut through the noise like a soothing breeze. "Isolation may only strengthen their resolve," she warned. "We must find a way to bring them back to the table, even if it means making concessions." Her words sparked another wave of debate, the room growing louder with each passing moment. Kale listened intently, his mind racing. He knew time was running out. Rumors of humanity's withdrawal were spreading across the galaxy, and other species were beginning to question the Council's effectiveness. If they didn't act soon, the fragile balance of power could collapse entirely. Later that evening, Kale met privately with Lyra in a quiet garden overlooking the glowing river. The air was cool, and the faint hum of alien insects filled the silence. "What do you think we should do?" Kale asked, breaking the stillness. Lyra folded her hands gracefully. "I believe Aaron is right. We must avoid provoking them further. But I also think we need to show strength. Perhaps a gesture of goodwill, combined with a firm reminder of the benefits of cooperation, could sway them." Kale considered her words. A gesture of goodwill might work, but it must be carefully timed. Too early, and they'll see it as desperation. Too late, and it may be ignored altogether. He paused, staring at the river as its light danced across. His face. "We need to understand why they left in the first place. Something drove them to this point, and until we know what it is, any action we take risks failure." As they parted ways, Kale felt a flicker of unease. The Council's unity was cracking, and the weight of leadership rested heavily on his shoulders. He returned to his quarters, where holographic projections of Earth and its leaders floated above his desk. He studied them closely, searching for answers. Humanity was young compared to most species in the galaxy, yet their determination was undeniable. They had walked away from the Council, but Kale wondered if they truly understood the consequences of their choice. In the days that followed, Kale worked tirelessly to draft a response. He consulted with key members of the Council, balancing their demands with his own vision for stability. Meanwhile, reports of increased military activity near Earth's borders began to trickle in, adding urgency to the situation. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see how the Council would react and whether humanity would stand its ground or reconsider its stance. For now, the future remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: the decisions made in the coming days would shape the destiny of countless worlds. Rachel Monroe sat in her small office, the glow of her computer screen illuminating her determined face. She had spent days digging into the events surrounding humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. Something about Daniel Carter's decision didn't sit right with her. It was too sudden, too absolute. Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than met the eye. Her search led her to a name whispered in hushed tones among activists and conspiracy theorists. Samuel Hayes, the leader of a secretive group called the Horizon Initiative. Samuel was known for his fiery speeches against alien influence on Earth. He believed humanity should sever all ties with the Council and rely solely on its own strength. Rachel knew she had to find him if she wanted to uncover the truth. After hours of research, Rachel discovered that Samuel often held meetings in underground locations, far from prying eyes. She managed to track down one such gathering in an old warehouse on the outskirts of the city. That night, dressed in dark clothes to blend in, she made her way to the address she had found. The warehouse was dimly lit, with flickering fluorescent lights casting long shadows across the concrete floor. A group of people stood in a loose circle, their faces tense and focused. At the center was Samuel Hayes, a tall man with graying hair and piercing blue eyes. His voice carried authority as he spoke to the crowd. "The Council sees us as weak," he declared, his tone sharp and unyielding. "They think we need them to survive, but they're wrong. Humanity is stronger alone." Rachel listened carefully, jotting down notes in her pocket-sized notebook. When the meeting ended, she approached Samuel cautiously. "Mr. Hayes," she said, stepping forward. "I'm Rachel Monroe, a journalist. Can I ask you a few questions?" Samuel studied her for a moment before nodding. "Make it quick," he said, leading her to a quieter corner of the room. "What do you want to know?" Rachel took a deep breath. "Did your group have anything to do with Earth's decision to leave the Council?" Samuel smirked, his expression unreadable. "Let's just say we've been planting seeds for a long time. The Council has exploited humanity for centuries. If our actions helped push them toward independence, then so be it." His words sent a chill down Rachel's spine. She pressed further. "Do you realize what this could mean? Walking away might provoke retaliation. People could get hurt." Samuel's smile faded, replaced by a cold seriousness. "Freedom always comes at a cost," he replied. "If humanity wants to stand on its own, it must be willing to fight for it." Rachel left the warehouse with more questions than answers. She couldn't ignore the possibility that Samuel's group had manipulated events to force humanity's hand. But exposing the truth came with risks. Publishing her findings could ignite panic or even violence. Yet staying silent felt like betraying her duty as a journalist. Back at her apartment, Rachel stared at her notes, her mind racing. She thought about Laura Bennett's warnings and the protests she had witnessed. People were divided, scared, and looking for someone to trust. If Rachel revealed Samuel's role, it could shatter whatever fragile unity remained. But if she kept quiet, she would be complicit in his agenda. As dawn broke, Rachel made her decision. She began writing an exposé detailing everything she had uncovered about the Horizon Initiative. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, fueled by a mix of fear and determination. She knew the article would change, things perhaps for better, perhaps for worse. But one thing was certain. The truth deserved to be told. When the piece was finished, Rachel hesitated before hitting send. Outside her window, the city stirred to life, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath its surface. The galaxy was watching, waiting to see how humanity would respond to its isolation. And now, thanks to Rachel, the world would soon learn that the path to this point had been shaped by forces hidden in the shadows. Lyra Voss sat alone in a quiet chamber aboard the Elysium, her glowing blue skin reflecting off the smooth, metallic walls. The room was designed for privacy, with no windows or distractions, just a single table and 2 chairs. She stared at the holographic image of Daniel Carter projected before her, replaying their last conversation in her mind. His words had been firm, almost cold, but she sensed something deeper beneath his resolve. Perhaps it wasn't too late. to salvage what remained of their fractured relationship. Summoning her courage, Lyra sent a private message to Daniel, requesting a meeting outside official channels. To her surprise, he agreed. They arranged to speak over a secure holographic transmission in neutral space, where neither side could claim an advantage. When the connection activated, Daniel's image appeared before her, his expression guarded, but not hostile. "Ambassador Carter," Lyra began, her voice soft, yet deliberate. "I know you believe walking away was the right choice, but I must ask, do you truly think isolation will benefit humanity?" Daniel leaned back in his chair, studying her carefully. "The Council has made its position clear," he replied. "You've demanded concessions that undermine our independence. What other option did we have?" Lyra tilted her head slightly, her wide eyes unblinking. "Independence is important, yes. But consider this. The galaxy is vast, and no species thrives alone. By cutting ties, you risk losing access to resources, knowledge, and alliances critical to your survival." Daniel sighed, rubbing his temples. He didn't want to admit it, but her words struck a nerve. "We've survived on our own for centuries," he said after a pause. "Why should we trade that self-reliance for dependence on others?" "Because cooperation isn't dependence," Lyra countered gently. "It's strength. Together, we achieve more than any one species could alone. The Council has flaws, I won't deny that, but abandoning it entirely only invites chaos." For a moment, neither spoke. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Daniel broke it. "Even if I wanted to reconsider, my people wouldn't accept it. Trust has been broken, Lyra. Rebuilding it won't be easy." "I understand," she said, her tone sincere. "But trust begins with dialogue. If you're willing, perhaps we can find a way to rebuild, not through formal negotiations, but through honest conversations, one step at a time." Daniel hesitated, weighing her proposal. He knew rejoining the Council outright was impossible, at least for now. But Lyra's offer intrigued him. Maybe there was another path forward, one that didn't involve surrendering Earth's dignity or safety. "What exactly are you proposing?" he asked cautiously. "A temporary bridge," Lyra explained. "Direct communication between key representatives from both sides. No formal agreements, no rigid structures, just an exchange of ideas. It could pave the way for something greater later." As they continued talking, Daniel felt a flicker of hope. For the first time since the peace talks collapsed, he saw a glimmer of possibility. But their conversation wasn't without risks. Unbeknownst to either of them, operatives loyal to Kale Draven were monitoring the transmission. Kale's sharp yellow eyes narrowed as he watched the recording, his lips curling into a faint smile. "This could work in our favor," Kale muttered to himself. "If Daniel and Lyra managed to establish even a fragile connection, it might weaken humanity's resolve to remain isolated. And if tensions escalated instead, well, Kale had plans for that scenario too." Meanwhile, Rachel Monroe published her expose on Samuel Hayes and the Horizon Initiative. The article sent shockwaves across Earth, sparking outrage and debate. Some condemned Samuel's actions, while others praised him as a visionary leader. Laura Bennett appeared on multiple broadcasts, urging calm and calling for transparency. "This revelation changes everything," she told viewers. "We need to decide whether we want to move forward together or let fear divide us further." As the days passed, the galaxy held its breath. Small acts of diplomacy unfolded quietly, while larger forces prepared for the battles ahead. Humanity stood at a crossroads, unsure which path to take. And somewhere in the shadows, Kale Draven plotted his next move, ready to shape the future in his own image.
Admiral Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the battleship New York and watched the last civilian transport ship disappear into the jump point. The ship carried 5,000 human colonists away from Haven's Edge, the border system that would soon become a battlefield. "That's the last of them, Admiral," said Captain Steve Parker from his position at the sensor station. 2 million colonists evacuated in 36 hours. All civilian ships are clear of the system. Lisa nodded but kept watching the stars. She had been a naval officer for 20 years, and she had never seen an evacuation happen so smoothly. Every human ship captain, every transport pilot, every station worker had done their job perfectly. No panic, no confusion, just calm efficiency. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Dan Walsh from the communications desk, "we're getting the final count from all task forces. We have 312 ships in defensive positions throughout the system." Lisa looked at the tactical display that showed her fleet. 300 ships against the 1,200 alien vessels that were coming. The numbers looked bad, but Lisa knew something the aliens did not. Human ships were not what they seemed to be. "Signal all ships," Lisa said. "Execute Protocol 7. All units are to release their packages and prepare for combat." Across the human fleet, cargo bays opened and began releasing what looked like space junk. Old metal plates, broken engine parts, chunks of asteroid rock, and other debris floated out into space. To anyone watching, it looked like the humans were dumping garbage before running away. Captain Steve Parker smiled as he watched the debris spread out. "The aliens are going to be very surprised when they find out what that junk really is." Each piece of debris was actually a sophisticated weapon. Hidden inside the fake scrap metal were fusion bombs, kinetic penetrators, and sensor jammers. Humans had been developing these stealth mines for years, but they had never told anyone about them. "Incoming jump signatures," reported Lieutenant Walsh. 1,200 alien ships entering the system at bearing 27 Mark IV. The alien fleet appeared in flashes of light as they came out of hyperspace. Their ships were huge and impressive. The 3 dreadnoughts alone were each bigger than 10 human battleships. The alien formation spread out in a classic attack pattern, with the biggest ships in the center and smaller vessels on the flanks. Lisa activated the ship-wide communications system. "This is Admiral Hayes to all ships. Today we show the galaxy. What happens when someone tries to push humans around? We are outnumbered 4-1, but we have something they don't have. We have the truth on our side, and we have each other." On the main display, the alien fleet began moving toward the human positions. Their ships moved in perfect formation, confident and aggressive. The lead ship was Admiral Vorth's flagship, a massive battle cruiser bristling with weapons. "They're hailing us," said Lieutenant Walsh. "Put them through," said Lisa. Admiral Vorth's ugly face appeared on the main screen. His red skin was scarred from many battles, and his sharp teeth gleamed when he smiled. "Human Admiral, I am Admiral Vorth of the Galactic Council Navy. You are ordered to surrender immediately." Lisa stood up straight and looked directly into the camera. "Admiral Vorth, I am Admiral Hayes of the Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to leave human space immediately." Vorth laughed, making a sound like grinding metal. "Look around you, human. You have 300 small ships. I have 1,200 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts. Surrender now, and I will let your crews live." "Admiral Vorth," Lisa said calmly, "you have made 2 mistakes. First, you assumed our ships are small and weak. Second, you assumed we would be afraid of you." She gestured to Captain Parker, who cut the communication link. "All ships," Lisa announced on the fleet channel, "begin withdrawal to Grid 7. Make it look like we're running away." The human fleet began moving toward the edge of the system, their engines glowing as they accelerated. To the aliens, it looked like the humans were retreating in panic. Admiral Vorth was delighted. "Look at them run," he said to his bridge crew. "Follow them. Don't let a single human ship escape. I want the galaxy to know that humans are cowards." The alien fleet increased speed and chased after the humans. Their formation stretched out as the faster ships pulled ahead of the slower ones. They flew right through the field of debris the humans had left behind. "Alien fleet is entering the mine field. reported Captain Parker. "All mines are armed and ready." Lisa watched the tactical display as 1,200 alien ships flew deeper into the trap. "Wait for it," she said quietly. "Let them get nice and spread out." The alien fleet was now scattered across millions of cubic kilometers of space, chasing what they thought were fleeing humans. Their ships were separated and vulnerable, exactly where Lisa wanted them. "Now," Lisa said. Captain Parker pressed a single button. The space around Haven's Edge exploded into light and fire. Thousands of hidden mines detonated at the same moment, sending fusion fire and metal fragments tearing through the alien fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible suddenly found their hulls cracking and their engines failing, but the mines were just the beginning. "All ships," Lisa commanded, "execute immediate reversal. Attack pattern Delta. Show them what human engineering really looks like." The retreating human fleet suddenly stopped running and turned around. Their ships moved with impossible precision and speed, using technology the aliens had never seen before. Human faster-than-light communication systems allowed perfect coordination between all ships, while their new jump drives let them move instantly to any position they wanted. What had looked like a retreat became a carefully planned ambush. Human ships appeared above, below, and behind the scattered alien forces. The aliens found themselves surrounded and outnumbered in small groups, even though their total fleet was still larger. The battle that followed was not really a battle at all. It was a demonstration of human military science. Alien ships that had seemed powerful were torn apart by weapons that should not have existed. Human plasma cannons burned through alien armor like paper. Human missiles moved too fast for alien defenses to stop them. Admiral Vorth's flagship tried to rally the alien forces, but it was too late. His communications were being jammed by human electronic warfare systems. His sensors were confused by human stealth technology. His weapons could not lock onto human ships that seemed to appear and disappear at will. "How is this possible?" Vorth shouted at his bridge crew. "Our intelligence said human technology was primitive." His tactical officer, a blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes, was staring at his displays in shock. "Admiral, I'm reading energy signatures that don't match any known technology. Their ships are using power sources we can't identify." Through the bridge windows, Vorth could see his fleet being destroyed. Hundreds of alien ships were burning in space. The 3 mighty dreadnoughts, pride of the Council Navy, were breaking apart under human fire. "Signal retreat," Vorth ordered. "All ships withdraw immediately." But there was nowhere to run. Human ships had surrounded the entire alien fleet. Every escape route was blocked by human vessels that moved faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. When the battle ended, over 800 alien ships were destroyed or disabled. The 3 dreadnoughts were gone. Admiral Vorth's flagship was a burning wreck drifting through space. The human fleet had not lost a single ship. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood on her bridge and looked at the tactical display showing the destruction of the alien fleet. Around her, her crew worked quietly and efficiently, as if destroying a force 4 times their size was just another day at the office. "Signal all ships," she said. "Begin search and rescue operations for alien survivors. Take prisoners, treat their wounded, and prepare for the next phase." Captain Parker looked at her with curiosity. "Next phase, Admiral?" Lisa smiled grimly. "Oh yes, Captain. This was just the opening move. Now the real game begins." The news spread across the galaxy like fire spreading through dry grass. Within hours of the battle at Haven's Edge, every major news network, every government, and every military command knew the impossible truth. 300 human ships had destroyed 1,200 Council vessels without losing a single ship. On the planet Kepler Prime, home to the Neutral Trade Federation, President Zara Kim called an emergency meeting of her cabinet. The conference room was filled with worried faces as they watched the battle footage that had somehow leaked from Council sources. "This changes everything," said Trade Minister Alex Chen. staring at the images of burning alien dreadnoughts. If humans can do this to the Council Navy, then everything we thought we knew about galactic power is wrong. President Kim nodded grimly. Send orders to all our ships immediately. Any vessel in Council space is to return to Federation territory, at once. We cannot risk being caught in whatever comes next. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. The Free Worlds Alliance, a group of smaller species that had always stayed neutral in galactic politics, suddenly found themselves very interested in talking to human diplomats. Within 6 hours of the battle, Alliance President Malik Jones was sending messages to Earth requesting immediate talks. But nowhere was the shock greater than in the council chambers themselves. Ambassador Kexathara stood before the emergency session, her usual calm completely gone. Her 4 arms shook as she tried to explain what had happened. "The reports must be wrong," she said, her voice cracking. "Human technology is primitive. Our intelligence files prove this. They cannot have weapons capable of destroying our dreadnoughts." The crystal alien made sounds like breaking glass, which the translators turned into words full of panic. "I have reviewed the sensor data myself. The energy signatures are impossible. Human ships were using power sources that our science says cannot exist." Hive Queen Zack Tell's compound eyes focused on the main display, which showed the wreckage of the Council fleet drifting through space near Haven's Edge. "My intelligence workers have failed us completely. They assured me that humans had no hidden capabilities." "Your intelligence workers were not the only ones who failed," said a new voice from the main screen. The image showed a human face that many of the council members recognized. It was Commander Pete Rogers, who had been stationed with Council E forces for 2 years as part of a cultural exchange program. The aliens had thought Pete was just a harmless observer, learning about alien cultures for human diplomats. They had let him visit their shipyards, attend their military briefings, and even observe their weapons tests. Now they realized he had been watching and learning for very different reasons. "Commander Rogers," said Kexathara, trying to sound calm, "you are no longer welcome in Council space. Return to human territory immediately." Pete smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "Oh, I'm already back in human space, Ambassador. This transmission is coming from the battleship Chicago, which is currently in orbit around Earth." The council members looked at each other in confusion. Pete had been seen at a council base just 2 days ago. How could he be at Earth already? "You see," Pete continued, "that's another thing you got wrong about us. You assumed that the ships and technology you observed were the best we had. You assumed we showed you everything. The main display changed to show images that made the council members step back in shock. Massive shipyards hidden inside asteroids, their construction bays filled with warships that dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. Weapons testing sites where human scientists turned entire moons into clouds of vapor. Fleets of vessels using technology that violated everything the aliens thought they knew about physics. "We've been watching you for 50 years, Pete said calmly, "learning your tactics, studying your weaknesses, preparing for the day when you would show your true face. We offered you friendship and cooperation. You chose domination and threats." A new image appeared, showing a star map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Council territory, while blue dots showed human space. But there were also green dots scattered throughout Council space, and these were growing larger and more numerous by the hour. "What are those green markers?" demanded Admiral Vorth, who had survived the battle but lost his flagship. "Those are species that have declared independence from Council rule in the last 12 hours, Pete explained. Funny how quickly people find their courage when they realize the neighborhood bully isn't as tough as he pretended to be. The truth was even worse than Pete's words suggested. Species that had been under Council rule for centuries were suddenly announcing their withdrawal from Council authority. The Kepler Trade Federation, the Free Worlds Alliance, and dozens of smaller governments were cutting all ties with the Council and reaching out to human diplomats. On the planet Rigel, the local Governor had declared independence within hours of hearing about the battle. For 300 years we have paid taxes to the council and followed their laws, Governor Sarah Martinez announced to her people. Today, we choose freedom. Similar declarations were coming from worlds across the galaxy. The council's authority, built on fear and superior military power, was crumbling as species realized they no longer had to be afraid. "This rebellion will not stand," said Admiral Vorth, trying to sound confident. "We still have thousands of ships. We can crush these uprisings." Pete's smile grew wider. "You can try, but you might want to ask yourself a question first. If we could destroy 1,200 of your ships without losing one of ours, how many ships do you think we actually have?" The question hung in the air like a poison cloud. The council members realized they had no idea what human military capabilities really were. Everything they thought they knew had been proven wrong at Haven's Edge. "You are bluffing," said Kexthera, but her voice lacked conviction. "Am I?" Pete asked. "Let me tell you what's going to happen next. In 6 hours, the human battleship Denver will arrive at your base on Sigma Station. It will be carrying medical supplies and rescue equipment for the survivors of your fleet. The Denver will also be carrying a message from Earth." The transmission paused for a moment, then Pete's expression became serious. "Here's the message. Any council ship that attacks human vessels or human allies will be destroyed. Any council base that threatens human colonies will be eliminated. Any council world that harbors pirates or raiders will be blockaded." Admiral Vorth stood up angrily. "You cannot threaten the entire council. We have 8,000 star systems under our control." "Had," Pete corrected. "You had 8,000 systems. Take a look at your territory map in about an hour. I think you'll find that number has gotten much smaller." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in chaos. Aliens were shouting, chittering, and making panicked noises in dozens of languages. The translators could barely keep up with all the frightened voices. Ambassador Kexthera tried to restore order, but it was hopeless. The foundation of council power had been shattered in a single battle, and now the entire structure was collapsing. In the hours that followed, the collapse accelerated. More and more species declared independence or allied themselves with humanity. Trade routes that had carried goods to council worlds for centuries suddenly went silent. Military bases found themselves isolated as local populations turned against them. The age of council dominance was ending, and everyone in the galaxy knew it. The only question now was what would replace it, and whether the transition would be peaceful or bloody. On Earth, human leaders were already working on that question. President Kate Sullivan was meeting with representatives from 47 different species, all eager to join what they were calling the Alliance of Free Worlds. The galaxy was changing, and humans were leading that change, not through conquest or domination, but through the simple idea that every species had the right to choose its own path among the stars.